Yo, it is Lil45, aka Sensei Stones, back for a second video. I just made my first video that I'm gonna post on YouTube. I haven't posted it yet. I'm gonna post this one with it. So it's gonna be like a double intro. Last video I talked a little bit about some political stuff that's going on currently in the United States mainly. But this video I want to talk about some pop culture stuff that everybody can get interested in. Everybody pretty much knows about. Some stuff that interests me personally. I'm really into mixed martial arts. The Ultimate Fighting Championship has really been on top of their game lately. Dana White is doing some great stuff with the new division, the women's bantamweight. Ronda Rousey, who is really hot, I have to admit, very attractive, and who's also actually a very nasty fighter. She finished all of her fights by like first round armbar, and her last fight with Misha Tate was epic, to say the least. Like, anybody who says that women shouldn't be fighting, or women shouldn't be in MMA, or that women are uh, less talented in sports than men, they obviously know what the fuck they're talking about. Because these girls inside the octagon, the girls in this new bantamweight division for the UFC, they're intense. All right, really intense. Like, there's some guys who are like, they don't fight nearly as hard as these women do, and it should be known. It's definitely a step in women's rights. Equal opportunity, and it's a good thing. Other stuff that's going on in the UFC. One of the fighters that I like, actually, who I didn't used to like, who I actually like now, Chael Sonnen. He just lost a title fight against John Jones, the light heavyweight champion of, I don't know how many times, 7 times. Guy's crazy. John Jones, TKO'd him in the first round with a knee to the stomach. First time Chael Sonnen really got on the scene when he fought Anderson Silva. I forgot what year that was back in. It was a couple years ago. And his first fight with Chael Sonnen, at that point in his life, that was his highest moment in his career, because he took Silva on a ride for 5 rounds. He dominated him. Absolutely. There's no way. He won the fight. He did. He won the fight. But in the 5th round, Anderson the Spider Silva, the greatest fighter of all time, triangle choked him with like a minute left, and he tapped out, and that was it. Anderson Silva still was a champion, and they fought a second time, and the second time, the first round, it looked like it was going to be the same thing. Chael Sonnen with that double leg, that power double leg, which was great. He got TKO'd with a knee to the stomach. Anderson Silva's that nigga. Excuse me. Anderson Silva's that guy. He's crazy, absolutely insane, and he's the best fighter in the world. But yeah, Chael Sonnen, back to him. He always talked a lot of smack, and he makes him a really entertaining fighter. It makes the fights like fun to watch because you want to see what's happening. And I think he talked a little bit too much smack this time, maybe a little bit too much, because John Jones pretty much just raped him. John Jones killed him. John Jones, he picked him up and he threw him around the octagon like he was a little kid. And, he said it himself. He was like, when I went in the octagon, it was like fighting a bear. John Jones is perhaps, he has an 84.5 inch reach. 84.5 inches. Anderson Silva has a 75 inch reach. Most heavyweights have around 70 to 80. 85 inches? That's the longest reach in MMA. It's insane. And then, speaking of Anderson Silva and John Jones, they're gonna fight. Anderson Silva has this fight coming up with what's his he has this fight coming up with some guy, some wrestler. I forgot his name right now. It's supposedly Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman's his name. And you know, GSP and Chael Sonnen and all these wrestlers, these wrestlers that are in MMA are saying that, you know, Chris Weidman's gonna beat Anderson Silva. Well, I'll tell you what right now. Anderson Silva is not going to get beaten by a wrestler. Okay? If Anderson Silva is going to get beaten by anybody, it's going to be either one, John Jones. That's the only chance of him ever being defeated right now. He's 2 on top of his game. He hasn't lost a fight in 12 fights. It's crazy. And that's the only way he's going to beat him. That's the only way he's going to be beaten, is by John Jones stepping in the octagon and whipping him. But I still think Anderson Silva is going to beat John Jones. Every single time Anderson Silva walks into the octagon, something crazy happens. If you haven't yet, watch the fight with Stephan Bonner. That came right after the second Sonnen fight. It's at light heavyweight. It's absolutely breathtaking. Anderson Silva legitimately just keeps his back on the cage with his hands down and lets Stephan do what he wants. And Stephan can't do anything. Even on steroids, Stephan can't do anything. Because simply Anderson Silva is a different breed of fighter. He's a monster. That front kick knockout of Vitor Belfort. Vitor Belfort was the Anderson Silva before Anderson Silva. He would go in and just take guys out in a round. But to be front kicked in the face by Anderson Silva and just get knocked out, it has to be humiliating. I think it's kind of funny because, you know, that kick is like on the cover of UFC 3, the video game, and I wonder how much money they gave to Vitor to put that on there. But yeah, Anderson Silva and John Jones are supposed to fight within the year. That's what both of them are saying. Dana White is staying silent. He hasn't said anything yet, but he's probably going to make an announcement. But it all rides on the Chris Weidman fight. If Anderson Silva doesn't, you know, win that fight, he's not going to be able to get the super fight with Jones. Somebody who I think he should fight, and I think he should have fought a long time ago, is GSP. Because, personally, GSP is a great athlete. He's one of the top athletes in the world. He's a monster. But as a fighter, he's not good. And I'll tell you why. If you guys watched his last fight against Nick Diaz, which you know, a lot of people are gonna say, oh, that wasn't a good fight. Actually, it was a really good fight because GSP lost that fight. I don't care what the judges say. GSP lost that fight. All right, there was one point, I think it was in the 3rd or 4th round, like in the middle. GSP is just winded as fuck. He doesn't know what's going on. He's breathing heavily. His mouth is hanging open. His hands are dropping, and Nick Diaz is just walking like that, right in front of him, and there's nothing he can do about it. He can't because GSP doesn't attack. He's reactive. He's not proactive. He's reactive. He's not a fighter. Okay? Nick Diaz, he's a fighter. Now, I'll tell you one thing. Nick Diaz has a weakness, and everybody knows Nick Diaz's weakness. It's the same weakness as all the Diaz brothers. Wrestling. He needs to work on his wrestling. Nick Diaz is my favorite fighter in the UFC. 209 all the way. Don't be scared, homie. But he needs to work on his wrestling. He needs to work on his takedown defense. Because if it's true, as he's claiming, that he just let George take him down, I don't think he should do that. That's just stupid. And it's probably not true. George St. Pierre is a great wrestler, even though he's never done a single. He was not in wrestling in high school. He wasn't in wrestling in college, but the French national team wanted him to go with them to the Olympics. That's how good of a wrestler he is, and he hasn't even done any official wrestling. But yeah, Nick Diaz. I think he should, if anything, go down in weight class. Why not? He can do it. He has the best cardio, the best fitness in the MMA. Or start back at the bottom, work your way back up. His past few fights have been title shots, And title shots, you know, they come once in a while, and then you got to go back to the beginning, and you got to work your way up again. I just think, you know, the BJ Penn fight, which was his first fight back in the UFC, that was his best fight. That's my favorite fight to watch ever. BJ is a great fighter. He's a legend. But Nick Diaz went in there and he kicked his ass. He absolutely murked BJ Penn. BJ had never been beaten up that much in his life, in his career, ever. And it really gave me hope when I saw him just pop, 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 you know, chasing down, stalking BJ Penn, the prodigy, around the octagon. I was like, who is this guy? And yeah, like, he's been a hero of mine ever since. But then, you know, and then the Carlos Condit fight happened. The Carlos Condit fight was bullshit. I'll tell you right now. Nick Diaz won that fight. Carlos Condit, he's a fighter, but he's not as good of a fighter as Nick Diaz. Now, GSP raped Carlos. No, actually, I'm going to take that back. That was a good fight, too. And that fight made me think Nick Diaz can pull this off. Nick Diaz can be the welterweight champion right now. He should have been the welterweight champion. He holds back. All right? He's a great fighter, but he's not all right up in here. I love the guy to death. He's awesome. He's one of the most entertaining fighters of all time. He trash talks. He backs it up with real, you know, jiu-jitsu. Great jiu-jitsu. The best boxing. And, you know, I don't think he gets enough credit for it. There's a lot of people out there who, like, call him, like, oh, he's a slap boxer. Nah, he's a boxer. He works with Richard Perez, one of the best boxing coach in MMA. Yeah, the 209 haven't been doing good that lately. Jake Shields got knocked out. Nick Diaz lost against GSP. Nate Diaz just got TKO'd by some guy, I don't know, I forgot his name, by a head kick. So, you know, when you get knocked out by a roundhouse kick to the head, it looks bad. He says he wasn't, you know, knocked out, but, you know, every fighter says that. What happens, it's over. He's going to come back. There's no doubt in my mind. Nate Diaz is going to be the champion. Gilbert Melendez, though, Gilbert Melendez can beat. Gilbert Melendez beat Ben Henderson, without a doubt. Ben Henderson couldn't do anything against Gilbert Melendez. Gilbert Melendez should be the lightweight champion right now. Why he's not, don't ask me. You know, it's sports. You know, same thing happened with boxing. You know, shit happens. You know, they stage fights. You know, they make it so that whatever happens, if you don't knock the guy out, this guy's gonna win no matter what. You know, because you know everybody was going in there rooting for Bendo, and Bendo's a good fighter, but he's weird. I don't like him. I really don't. He's not one of my favorite. You know, he keeps a toothpick in his mouth when he fights. Like, who does that? That's dangerous as hell. Like, I don't know. But yeah, the Diaz, the whole Stockton, California. I hope they come back. I really hope Nick Diaz chills out with all this title shot bullshit, because he's not going to be able to beat Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva's just too good. He needs to go back to the beginning of the welterweight division and just start knocking guys out, which he can do. There's no doubt in my mind if he started even at the middle of the division, there's nobody in the welterweight division who's going to be able to, you know, beat Nick Diaz, unless you put him up against a wrestler who might have a chance. But even still, Nick Diaz will probably submit him. Yeah. He's actually looking to get a rematch by, like, legal terms. They're currently in a dispute with the Montreal Athletic Association, or whatever you call it, about the whole weight issue, which you guys probably already know about. But yeah, that's about it for me. I'll finish talking about the MMA. Call this my MMA video. So yeah, it's my second video. Hit me up, Will45, Sensei Stoned. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Twitter, same name. Yeah, I hope I can make more videos, and see you next time.